Don't buy Hewlett-Packard, it matters for equality. Don't buy this product, let us tell you why. Don't buy if you're for justice. Don't buy if you're for justice. Don't buy if you're for justice in Palestine. Condemn occupation that profits Hewlett-Packard. Help shame them for bigotry. Don't buy this product, let us tell you why. Don't buy if you're for justice. Don't buy if you're for justice. Don't buy if you're for justice in Palestine. Condemn segregation that profits Hewlett-Packard. In Gaza, they need our help. Don't buy this product, let us tell you why. Don't buy if you're for justice. Don't buy if you're for justice. Don't buy if you're for justice in Palestine.
Your name and how you would like to be identified, sir?
My name is Garik Ruiz, G-A-R-I-K, last name Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. I'm the North America liaison for the Palestinian BDS National Committee, the BNC.
And your reason for being here outside the Fry Electronics store today?
We're out here today as part of the International Week of Action targeting HP and calling on people to boycott Hewlett-Packard companies for their complicity in occupation and apartheid in Palestine by providing technology to the Israeli military and Israeli government that allows them to carry out their system of occupation and apartheid in Palestine.
If you could please elaborate how this technology is applied, if you can.
Absolutely. There are many different ways in which HP provides technology that is used to violate Palestinian rights. One way is by contracts with the Israeli Navy directly, where they run information technology systems for the Israeli Navy, which is the entity which carries out the siege and blockade of the Gaza Strip that's been going on for over 10 years now, holding Palestinians in what many of them call the largest open-air prison in the world, with now over 2 million Palestinians trapped in this tiny strip just a few miles wide and a few miles long. HP also provides the Basel, or runs the Basel biometric data system for the Israeli government. This is the system that is used both in checkpoints in the West Bank as well as the Erez crossing into Gaza to restrict Palestinian freedom of movement. Any Palestinian over the age of 15 has their biometric data taken up to and including retinal scans and facial recognition and put into this system and then is used by the Israeli military to determine who they're going to let through or not let through these checkpoints. So they're very much facilitating violation of Palestinians' freedom of movement. They also have contracts actually with the Israeli government directly for the national ID system, and this is the system that is used to enforce the apartheid conditions inside the state of Israel. These IDs that HP, again runs the biometric data side of them, are what determines if you are a Jewish Israeli citizen that you have the most rights. If you're a non-Jewish citizen, you have less rights, including Palestinian citizens. If you're a Jerusalem resident, you have a different ID and you have less rights. And then, of course, Palestinians living under occupation in the West Bank and Gaza Strip have even less rights. So those are just a few ways that HP provides technology to the Israeli military and the state of Israel itself.
I know from South African citizens to, I believe, even former President Jimmy Carter have dared to describe the situation that you were addressing as some form of apartheid. How do you feel about those descriptions?
Oh, the system in the state of Israel absolutely meets the international law definition of apartheid. There are different sets of laws, different sets of rights, depending on what your background is. Again, a Jewish citizen of the state of Israel has more rights than a non-Jewish citizen of the state of Israel. For example, the law of return provides that any Jew anywhere in the world is able to come to Israel and instantly become a citizen. However, many Palestinian citizens who were able to stay in the state of Israel when hundreds of thousands were driven out in 1948 and became refugees, their relatives who are refugees have never been able to return home. So you see very clearly that there are different sets of rights, and this extends to property ownership, to certain legal rights, and many different aspects of the legal system there. So by setting up different sets of different legal systems for different citizens, they are in effect setting up an apartheid system.
Well, given the United States track record in supporting the South African regime at the time of the apartheid days, even if not collaborating with Israel in the provision and the facilitating of nuclear weapons to South Africa, at best the United States looked the other way, even knowing what the situation was in apartheid. So given that track record, is there a reason why someone would be surprised about the United States attitude, looking the other way and not paying attention, not applying the same human rights protections that it applies, say, in North Korea, Iran, or Cuba?
I think it is an incumbent upon us as people who live in the United States to hold the U.S. accountable for its violation of human rights around the world, including in Palestine, and as you said, a history of supporting occupation, apartheid, and colonial regimes around the world. To me, it's not a question of whether we should be surprised or not. It's a question of what are we going to do about what this government is doing around the world, and how are we going to put pressure on the U.S. government to stop supporting occupation, to stop supporting apartheid.
I understand that some of the corporations, industries that were involved in the construction of the wall in Palestine were also giving some concessions, some contractual activities to operate at the U.S.-Mexico border, and they're about to continue doing that under the Donald Trump administration. What do you know about this?
The big link between the wall in Palestine and the wall on the U.S.-Mexico border is an Israeli company called Elbit Systems. Elbit Systems was intimately involved both in the construction of the wall in Palestine and has been very involved and continues to be involved on the border between the U.S. and Mexico. They provide a lot of the surveillance systems for both walls. So they're one of the primary links that is profiting both from the wall in Palestine, which is expropriating even more Palestinian land and continues to expropriate more Palestinian land, and the horrific wall on the U.S.-Mexico border that exists already and that Donald Trump is talking about expanding.
Under the proposed or the alleged proposal of Donald Trump to deport over 11 million people, or at least give them a hard time so they will be more docile, submissive labor force and continue to make profits for the U.S. corporations here, whatever he does, I understand he's also considering expanding his links and operations and his activities with some of the companies that work with Israel in terms of security. As far as you know, to what degree Israeli companies are associated with the companies working with the one you are protesting against today?
I am not sure exactly in terms of what companies Donald Trump is talking about working with. What I can say for sure is that Donald Trump has been explicit that he is going to go farther than any other president to support the state of Israel and support the occupation and apartheid systems that they're carrying out in Palestine. But the other thing I think I would say regarding Donald Trump is that he right now is appointing openly anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish people to his cabinet, or trying to, and to his staff in the White House. At the same time, the pro-Israel lobby in this country is cozying up to him like no other president before. So we're really seeing that it is the pro-Israel lobby is okay with people being anti-Jewish as long as they support the state of Israel, with Bannon, the person that Trump is trying to appoint as his chief strategist, being one of the primary examples. This is someone who has said that he did not want his children to go to school with Jews, but he is supportive of the state of Israel, and so groups like AIPAC, the Professor Alan Dershowitz, and many other groups are supporting him despite his openly anti-Semitic views.
My name is Marcia Steinberg, and I'm a member of BDS LA.
Explain for our radio listeners and viewers on YouTube channel, what is BDS?
BDS stands for Boycott, Divestiture, and Sanctions, and it's the acronym for an international movement right now, modeled after what happened in South Africa, to end the occupation of Palestine.
And Fry's Electronics plays a role in all of this. That's the reason why you're here.
No.
Why are you here?
We're here because there's an international campaign to boycott HP. That's the point. The target is HP, not Fry's. The point is, the reason that we're here is it's a big retail outlet on this weekend where there's a lot of people shopping, so we expected that there would be a lot of people that would see us. But the main thing about HP, the real question is, why are we boycotting HP? That's what we're doing.
And HP is doing something terrible that you are about to explain to us what it is.
Yes, and I'm going to. So HP, people think of as a computer retail thing, or ink, or printers, or whatever. But in fact, what HP is, it's a huge internationally based security firm. And they're very involved in really facilitating repression, both in Palestine and also at the border of U.S. and Mexico. So they are a high-tech security company.
Let's start with what they're doing in Palestine, and then we come back to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Okay.
Let's take one at a time. What are they doing in Palestine?
I'm not the very best one to give enormous details, but let's just say they're fully embedded in the security apparatus, the apparatus of checkpoints and the wall and security on the roads. So I'm pretty sure, well, maybe some people don't know, that what Israel has done is create an apartheid state. Separate roads for the Palestinians, separate roads for the settlers. Checkpoints and every opportunity where you cannot freely move from one place to another. So the lie that the Palestinians have control over the West Bank is just that. It's a lie.
And this is done in the name of security?
Yes.
And this same word is being used by the United States at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Yes.
How is it going to work here? Do you have an idea?
Well, I think what they're doing is just are part of the high-tech apparatus at the border, and so it's the same issues. It's all high spying, recording, limiting, tracking the border. And the point that we're trying to make is that this makes HP an international human rights violator, that they are participating in this kind of activity, which is to limit the freedom of the people. In the case of the U.S. border, both the Mexicans and the Americans, and in the case of Palestine, it's just pure apartheid.
For the people who could be here, but is not, any message from you for them?
Well, my message is to please learn about Palestine. If you consider yourself a progressive in any way, a liberal in any way, please don't single issue your politics. Please understand that the U.S. foreign policy goal is to support these governments which are totally undemocratic, because the U.S. wants to do business, they want to facilitate trade, they want to whatever, and the Israel lobby in the U.S. is very powerful and spends a lot of money. So the situation in Palestine is becoming extremely acute. These fires that are going on now, they're blaming on the Palestinians. That's another lie, because there's fires everywhere in the area, and some of them were set by settlers on Palestinian land, and perhaps some were set by Palestinians, although they certainly not only did not set those fires in general, but they provided their own fire resources to the Israeli government in Haifa and other places to help put out those fires. So I am imploring people to please think, what is the context of the U.S.? We've just come through this horrible election. We have this right-wing government in waiting, and yet all around the world, people are resisting this kind of oppression, and we consider ourselves part of that movement.
Your name again?
Marcia Steinberg.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Good.